When the Council banished Earth, humanity took control of its fate part. The chamber hung in the darkness between stars, a massive structure of crystal and metal that glowed with soft blue light. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in circular rows, all facing the center where 3 humans stood alone. Captain Deho looked up at the countless alien faces staring down at them. Some looked sad, some looked angry. Most looked like they had already made up their minds. Beside Deho stood Dr. Minji, her hands clasped behind her back, her face calm even though her heart was racing. On his other side was young diplomat Jisoo, barely 25 years old, who kept adjusting his collar nervously. They had come here hoping to defend humanity. Now Deho wondered if they ever had a chance at all. The chief counselor, a tall being covered in silver scales, rose from the highest seat. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "We have heard Earth's defense. We have reviewed the evidence. The time has come to vote." Deho stepped forward. "Please, Honorable Council, we have made mistakes in our past, yes, but we have learned. We have grown. Give us a chance to prove ourselves worthy of standing among you." The chief counselor's large eyes blinked slowly. "You speak of learning, Captain Deho. Yet your species continues weapons research we have forbidden. You expand into territories faster than any species before you. You refuse to follow simple guidelines meant to keep peace in the galaxy." "We follow our own path," Deho said, his voice steady. "That is not the same as being dangerous," a reptilian delegate hissed from the left side. "You are too aggressive, too unpredictable. In 300 years since you discovered faster-than-light travel, you have caused more incidents than species who have been spacefaring for 3,000 years. Minji spoke up, her voice clear and scientific. "If the Council reviews those incidents, you will find that 92% were misunderstandings or accidents. We have never started a war with another species. We have never conquered—" "Silence!" another delegate shouted, a being made of flowing energy contained in a suit. "You defend yourselves with words, but your actions speak louder. You are a young species playing with forces you do not understand. You threaten the order we have maintained for millennia." Deho felt his jaw tighten. They had traveled for 6 weeks to reach this place. They had prepared arguments, shown evidence of humanity's peaceful intentions, explained their culture and hopes. None of it mattered. The Council had decided long before they arrived. The chief counselor raised one long arm. "We will vote now. All in favor of allowing humanity to remain part of the Galactic Council?" Lights began to glow above certain seats. Deho counted them quickly. 5, 6, 7, 8. The lights stopped appearing. 8 species voted for humanity. His heart sank. All in favor of banishment? The chamber lit up like a night sky filled with stars. 39 lights glowed above seats in every direction. 39 species had voted to throw humanity out of galactic civilization. Jisoo made a small sound beside him, almost a whimper. Minji reached over and squeezed his shoulder. Though her own hand trembled slightly, Deho stood perfectly still, his face showing nothing of the anger and fear swirling inside him. "The vote is clear," the chief counselor announced. "Humanity is hereby banished from the Galactic Council and all territories under Council protection. You have 30 days to withdraw all colonies, ships, and installations beyond the Sol system. After that time, a barrier will be established around your home system. Any human vessel that crosses it will be destroyed without warning." The words hit Deho like physical blows. 30 days. They had built colonies on 17 worlds. Research stations orbited 50 planets and moons. Mining operations dotted asteroid belts across 6 sectors, all of it abandoned. All the families living on those worlds forced to leave their homes. All the progress humanity had made in exploring the galaxy, erased. "This is not justice," Deho said, his voice low but carrying through the silent chamber. "This is fear." "Watch your tone, human," the chief counselor warned. "No." Deho looked up, meeting the alien's eyes without flinching. "You fear us not because we are violent, but because we are different. We ask questions you stopped asking long ago. We try things you decided were too risky. We dream bigger than you are comfortable with. That is why you banish us, not for what we have done, but for what we might become." Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. A few nodded slightly, though they had voted against humanity anyway. The chief counselor's face remained expressionless. "The decision is made. Your ship may depart immediately. Spread the word to your people. 30 days, Captain Deho. Not 1 hour more. The floor beneath them began to glow, and Deho felt the familiar tingle of a teleportation beam. In seconds, they stood on the bridge of their small diplomatic vessel, alone among the stars. Through the view screen, the massive council station began to shrink as their ship automatically pulled away. Jisoo collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. It's over. Everything we worked for, just over. Minji moved to the communication console, her scientific mind already working on the problem. We need to send word immediately. Start evacuation procedures. 30 days is not much time. Deho stood at the view screen, staring at the station disappearing into the distance. His mind raced through everything that would need to happen. The panic that would spread. The logistics of moving millions of people. The resources that would be lost. The dreams that would die. But underneath the worry, something else grew. Something hot and fierce, Captain. Minji looked at him, waiting for orders. Deho turned to face his crew. His face had changed. The disappointment was still there, but something new had joined it. Determination, defiance, anger turned into purpose. Send the message, he said. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we have 30 days. And after that, Jisoo asked, his voice shaking. After that, we show them what humans can do when we stop asking for permission. Deho moved to the captain's chair and sat down, his posture straight and strong. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. As their ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the council far behind, Deho composed a message in his head. A message that would reach every human in every corner of explored space. A message that would define what came next. They have chosen to make us alone, he would say. Then we will show them what alone humans can accomplish. The journey home took 4 weeks. During that time, Deho watched through communication channels as panic spread across human space. Some demanded war with the council. Others wanted to beg for reconsideration. Many simply cried for the homes they would lose, but some voices spoke differently. Scientists who saw opportunity and freedom from council restrictions. Engineers who wanted to try radical designs previously forbidden. Military leaders who talked about building strength in isolation. Business leaders who calculated the value of everything humanity would bring back to Seoul. By the time their ship reached Earth orbit, something had shifted. The panic remained, but beneath it ran a current of something else. The galaxy had rejected humanity. Fine, humanity would reject the galaxy right back. Deho stood before Earth's assembled leaders in the emergency council chamber deep beneath Geneva. Every nation had sent representatives. Every colony had a voice. The room buzzed with nervous energy and barely controlled fear. He told them everything. The vote, the deadline, the threat. And then he told them his plan. We have been given 30 days to leave the galaxy, Deho said, his voice carrying to every corner of the crowded room. We will use every second. We will strip our colonies of everything useful. We will bring home every person, every machine, every scrap of technology. We will turn Sol's system into a fortress and a factory. And when they erect their barrier thinking we are locked inside, they will not realize the truth. What truth? Someone called out. Deho smiled, and it was not a kind smile. That they are not locking us in. They are locking themselves out. Out of seeing what we will become. Out of knowing what we will build. Out of understanding what humanity can do when we take control of our own fate. The room erupted in discussion, argument, agreement, and dissent. But the seed was planted. Humanity had a direction now. A purpose. In orbit above Earth, Commander Hyunwoo watched the planet below and listened to Deho's speech. His military mind was already planning. Defense networks, shipyards, weapons that did not have to follow council restrictions anymore. A fleet that would make anyone think twice about threatening humanity again. The 30 days of exodus had begun. But it was not a retreat. It was preparation. The council thought they were removing a problem. They had no idea they were creating something far more dangerous. They were creating a humanity united by rejection, motivated by defiance, and completely, absolutely free. When the council banished Earth, humanity took control of its fate. Part 3. The Tavian homeworld was burning. From the bridge of the Defiance, Commander Hyunwoo watched orbital defense platforms explode one by one, as Gordane warships hammered them with weapons fire. Below, On the planet's surface, cities that had stood for thousands of years were being reduced to rubble. Count 312 enemy vessels, his tactical officer reported. They have us surrounded. Good, Hyunwoo said calmly. Then they cannot escape. Several crew members glanced at him like he had lost his mind. They were outnumbered more than 10 to 1. The Gordane hegemony had brought a full invasion fleet, massive ships bristling with weapons. Each one was twice the size of the largest human vessel, but size was not everything. Lieutenant Nari, Hyunwoo called out, launch all fighters. Pattern Delta 7. On the flight deck, 23-year-old Lieutenant Nari climbed into her fighter's cockpit. Her hands moved over the controls with practiced ease, bringing systems online. Around her, 49 other pilots did the same. These were not the lumbering craft the Council species used. Human fighters were fast and agile, built for dogfighting in ways galactic militaries had abandoned centuries ago. All fighters ready, she reported, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. This was her first real combat. Training simulations were one thing. Actual war was something else entirely. Remember your training? Hyunwoo's voice came through her headset. The Gordanes fight in rigid formations. They expect honor and predictability. Give them chaos instead. Hit and run. Never stay still. Make them afraid. The launch bay doors opened and Nari's fighter shot out into space on a pillar of blue thrust. Immediately she broke hard left while other fighters scattered in 50 different directions. The Gordane fleet, arranged in perfect geometric patterns, seemed to pause for a moment as if confused by the seemingly random movements. That pause cost them. The human destroyers opened fire with railguns that did not exist in Council arsenals. Solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds punched through Gordane shields like they were not there. 3 enemy cruisers exploded before they even understood what was happening. All ships execute Thunderstorm Protocol, Hyunwoo ordered. The human fleet stopped acting like a fleet. Instead, each ship became independent, making its own decisions, taking its own approach. The Gordanes tried to target them, but every time their weapons locked on, the human ship would juke in a direction that should have torn it apart from the G-forces. But human ships had inertial dampeners that went beyond Council safety limits, because humans had decided safety restrictions were less important than survival. Nari led her squadron through a gap in the Gordane formation, her fighter weaving between shots that would have vaporized her. She picked a target, a large battleship that was bombarding the planet below, and armed her missiles. Not the standardized weapons Council species used. These were human-made with AI guidance systems that learned and adapted in real time. Fox 3, she called out, launching 4 missiles. The Gordane ship deployed countermeasures, throwing out chaff and electronic interference. The missiles seemed to veer off course. The Gordanes probably thought they had successfully defended. Then the missiles curved back around from 4 different angles, their AI having calculated the perfect approach. All 4 struck within milliseconds of each other. Right at the ship's reactor core, the explosion lit up space like a small sun. That is for the Tavians, Nari whispered, already picking her next target. On the Defiance's bridge, Hyunwoo watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. The Gordanes were powerful but predictable. They followed standard Council tactical doctrine, because that was what everyone did. They maintained formation integrity even when it made them vulnerable. They broadcast orders on standard frequencies that human electronic warfare ships were happily jamming and confusing. They fought like it was a game with rules. Humans fought like their survival depended on winning by any means necessary. Sir, we are receiving a communication from the Gordane flagship, the communications officer reported. They are demanding we identify ourselves and withdraw immediately. Hyunwoo smiled coldly. Ignore them. Target that flagship with everything we have. The Defiance and 3 other human ships concentrated fire on the massive Gordane command vessel. Energy weapons that pushed the limits of physics tore into its shields. The Gordanes returned fire and the Defiance shook from impacts, but her shields held. Human defensive technology had advanced dramatically in 3 years of unrestricted research. Their flagship is launching fighters, Tactical warned. Finally, Hyunwoo muttered, they are trying to adapt. Too late, though. The Gordane fighters moved in textbook formations, perfect and beautiful. Nari's squadron tore through them like wolves through sheep. The aliens had not fought a real dogfight in centuries. They had forgotten how. Humans never forgot. Every conflict in human history, from ancient skies to modern void, had taught them how to fight in 3 dimensions with speed and violence. Within 10 minutes, the Gordane fighter wing was decimated. Sir, the Gordanes are trying to retreat, Tactical reported. Do not let them. Hyunwoo leaned forward in his chair. I want every ship that attacked this world to understand what happens when you pick a fight with someone under human protection. The human fleet pursued ruthlessly. Ships that tried to flee found human destroyers already in their path, cutting off escape routes with precision jumps. The Gordanes had never faced an enemy that could coordinate without central command, each ship acting independently but somehow always in perfect sync. It was terrifying to face, and the Gordanes were learning fear. 2 hours after the battle began, it was over. Of the 312 Gordane ships, 238 were destroyed. The rest had fled in different directions, their formation completely broken. Human casualties were light. 4 fighters lost, 2 destroyers damaged but repairable, 0 ships destroyed. It was not even close to a fair fight, just not in the way the Gordanes had expected. All ships establish orbit around Tavea Prime, Hyunwoo ordered. Deploy humanitarian aid to the surface. Medical teams, engineering crews, whatever they need. He stood and straightened his uniform, and opened a channel. All frequencies. I want every ship in this sector to hear what I am about to say. The communications officer nodded. Channel open, sir. Hyunwoo spoke clearly, his voice carrying across space to thousands of vessels belonging to dozens of different species. This is Commander Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Force. The Tavian people are under human protection. Any further aggression against them will be answered in kind. This is not a threat. This is a statement of fact. He paused, letting that sink in. The Council banished humanity. They thought they could lock us away and forget about us. They were wrong. We are back, and we will stand with those who stood with us. He cut the channel and sat back down. Around him, the bridge crew was silent. They had just announced to the galaxy that humans were no longer hiding. The Council would know within hours. There would be consequences, but those consequences were for tomorrow. Today, they had saved a civilization from extinction. On the surface of Tavea Prime, the insectoid population emerged from underground shelters to see human ships descending through the smoke-filled sky. Medical shuttles landed in devastated cities. Human doctors and engineers poured out, immediately beginning to help the wounded and start repairs. The Tavian ambassador, an elderly being named Kren with iridescent wings, approached the first human she saw. It was a young soldier carrying medical supplies. Why? She asked in broken standard. Why come? You were banished. This only brings trouble for you. The soldier, a private named Taehyun, smiled at her. You voted for us when everyone else turned away. We do not forget that kind of loyalty. Kren's wings shimmered with colors that indicated tears in her species. The Council will punish you for this. Let them try, Taehyun said simply, and continued toward the wounded in space. Nari landed her fighter back on the carrier, her hands shaking as the adrenaline finally wore off. She had survived her first combat. More than survived, she had won. They all had won. Against impossible odds, humanity had proven something important. They were not the species the Council remembered. 3 years of isolation had changed them, made them harder, made them more capable, made them willing to take risks the Council species had forgotten how to take. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Ships carried the story to every corner of known space. The Tavian Rescue, people started calling it. The day humanity announced it was back, the Council convened an emergency session within 6 hours. The chamber was in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others counseled caution. A few quietly wondered if banishment had been a mistake. The chief counselor struggled to maintain order. The humans have violated the terms of their banishment. They were forbidden from leaving Sol system. They saved a member species from extinction, one delegate pointed out. While we sat here and did nothing, that is not the point, another shouted. They defied our authority. Deep in Sol system, Chancellor Daeho watched the recordings of the battle with mixed emotions. When the Council banished Earth, humanity took control of its fate. Part 2. 3 years had passed since the Great Evacuation. Admiral Soman stood on the observation deck of the orbital platform Fortress Prime, watching construction drones work on the latest battleship. The vessel dwarfed anything humanity had built before. all sharp angles and weapons that glowed with barely contained power. It was beautiful in a deadly way. "Status report," she said into her communication device. A voice crackled back immediately. "Shipyard 7 reports the heavy cruiser will be ready for trials in 6 days. Shipyard 12 has begun work on 4 destroyers. Shipyard 3 requests more titanium alloy for the carrier project." Soman nodded, making notes on her datapad. "Approved. Pull resources from the asteroid mining operation in the belt." She looked past the construction to the planet Mars below, where once there had been a few small research stations. Now entire cities sprawled across the red surface. Domes and tunnels housed millions of workers and their families. The whole planet had transformed into a massive industrial complex, building ships and weapons faster than seemed possible. The same was true throughout the Sol system. Mercury had mining operations that dug deep into its sun-baked surface, pulling out raw materials. Venus, despite its hostile environment, now had floating cities in its upper atmosphere, processing chemicals and manufacturing advanced materials. Even the moons of Jupiter and Saturn had been covered in factories and foundries. Earth itself had changed too. With everyone brought back from distant colonies, the population had swelled. But instead of causing problems, people had thrown themselves into work with desperate energy. They built. They invented. They pushed themselves harder than any humans had worked before, because they all knew the truth. They were alone now, and alone they had to be strong. "Admiral, you have a visitor," her assistant announced through the intercom. Soman turned to see Engineer Jinwoo walking toward her, a wide smile on his face. He was a short man with messy hair that never stayed neat no matter how often he combed it. His eyes sparkled with the excitement of someone who had just solved an impossible problem. "I did it," he said without greeting. "We did it. My team actually did it." "Did what, Jinwoo?" Soman asked, though she had learned to be excited when Jinwoo got this look. He pulled out a small device and projected a hologram between them. It showed mathematical equations that made Soman's head hurt just looking at them, but she understood the diagram at the bottom. It was a ship, moving through space in a way that looked different from normal faster-than-light travel. "We cracked independent FTL," Jinwoo said, his words tumbling out fast. "We do not need the Council's jump gates anymore. We do not need their network. We can travel anywhere in the galaxy completely on our own." Soman felt her heart skip. This was huge. The Council controlled all FTL travel through their gate network. Every species depended on it. It was one of their main sources of power. If humans could travel without them, how fast? She asked. Jinwoo's smile dimmed a little. About 60% the speed of gate travel. But we are improving the design every week. And Soman, we can go places the gates do not reach. We are not limited to their routes anymore. Show me. Soman waved toward the door. "I want to see this ship." They took a transport shuttle to Shipyard 4, which was kept secret even from most of the military. Inside the massive construction bay floated a ship unlike anything Soman had seen before. It was sleek and strange, covered in panels that seemed to shimmer and shift in the light. At its center was a ring structure that pulsed with soft blue energy. "We call it the Pathfinder," Jinwoo said proudly. "Commander Hyunwoo tested it last week. Jumped all the way to Proxima Centauri and back in 16 hours. "And the Council?" Soman asked carefully. "Can they detect this travel method?" "No." Jinwoo's smile returned full force. "It uses completely different principles. To their sensors, we would look like normal background radiation. We are invisible to them." Soman stood staring at the ship, her mind racing with possibilities. This changed everything. Humanity was not trapped anymore. They could explore. They could expand again if they wanted. They could... Her communicator buzzed urgently. "Admiral, Director Hana needs to speak with you immediately. Priority 1. Soman excused herself and took the call in a private room. Director Hana's face appeared on the screen. She was an older woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. As head of Earth's intelligence service, she knew secrets that even Soman was not cleared for. "We have a situation," Hana said without preamble. "Our network just picked up a distress signal. It is coded in old human encryption from before the banishment." "From who?" Soman leaned forward. "The Tavians. Remember them? They were one of the 8 species that voted against our banishment." Hana pulled up a star map. "They are under attack. The Gordane hegemony is invading their space. The Council has done nothing to help." Soman felt cold. "How bad?" "Bad. The Tavians are a peaceful species. They have almost no military. The Gordanis are slaughtering them. Whole colonies have been wiped out. At the current rate, the Tavian species will be extinct within 6 months. And they are asking us for help? Hana nodded slowly. They are desperate. They know we were banished. They know contacting us is probably against council law, but they have nowhere else to turn. The question is, do we answer? Salman closed her eyes, thinking. Earth had spent 3 years building up defenses, preparing for the day the council might decide banishment was not enough. They had not planned on leaving Sol, it was too risky. If they revealed their new capabilities too soon, but 8 species had voted against humanity's banishment. The Tavians had stood up for humans when almost everyone else had turned against them. Did humanity owe them something for that? I need to talk to the Chancellor, Salman said. Chancellor Deho had kept his promise. He had turned Sol system into a fortress, but the weight of leadership had aged him. His hair had gone gray at the temples. Lines creased his face that had not been there 3 years ago. Yet his eyes still burned with the same fierce determination. They met in the war room beneath Earth's surface along with Minji, who now served as chief science advisor, and several military commanders. Hyunwoo joined them via hologram from his flagship. The Tavians kept their honor, Daiho said after hearing the situation. When the rest of the galaxy turned on us, they stood firm. How can we ignore their call for help? Because helping them reveals our capabilities, one general argued. The council will know we can leave Sol. They will know about our new ships and weapons. We lose the element of surprise. Surprise for what? Minji asked quietly. Are we planning to attack the council? Is that what we have become? The room fell silent. It was a question many had avoided asking. In 3 years of isolation, had humanity built all this just for defense, or had something darker taken root? Hyunwoo's hologram flickered. I have been testing the new ships. Training pilots. We have capabilities the galaxy has not seen before. If we are going to help the Tavians, we can do it. 30 ships could probably turn that war around. 30 ships against how many Gordane vessels? Another commander asked. Intelligence says about 300 in the Tavian theater, Hana reported. The numbers made everyone pause. 10-to-1 odds. Even with superior technology, that was a massive risk. But we would not be fighting like the council fights, Hyunwoo continued. No rigid formations. No by-the-book tactics. We hit fast, hard, unpredictable. Use every dirty trick humanity has learned in thousands of years of warfare. The Gordanis have probably never faced an enemy that actually tries to win instead of just following honor codes. Deho stood and walked to the star map, studying the Tavian system. If we do this, there is no going back. The council will know we defied the banishment. There will be consequences. There will be consequences either way, Minji said. If we hide here forever, we prove the council right. We prove we are afraid, that we are less than them. And if we fight, Deho turned to face her. Then we prove we are exactly what they feared we might become, Minji said with a small smile. Something they cannot control. Deho looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. He saw fear. He saw doubt. But he also saw determination. Humanity had spent 3 years preparing. Maybe it was time to see if all that preparation meant anything. Hyunwoo, Deho said, select your best ships and crews. You have 4 days to prepare. On the 5th day, you jump to Tavian space. And our rules of engagement? Hyunwoo asked. Protect the Tavians. Stop the Gordanis. Show them that humans do not abandon those who stood by us. Deho's voice grew harder. And show the council that their banishment did not make us weaker. It made us free. The room erupted in activity as commanders began making plans. Salman pulled up ship rosters. Jinwoo started calculating power requirements for the new FTL drives. Hana began coordinating with intelligence operatives to gather detailed information on Gordane ship types and tactics. In 4 days, humanity would take its first step back into the galaxy. Not asking for permission, not following anyone's rules, just acting because it was right, and because they could. On the 5th day, Commander Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Defiance. Behind him, 29 other ships of various types formed up in formation. When the Council banished Earth, humanity took control of its fate. Part 4 Counselor Ven sat in his private chambers, staring at reports that made his 4 hearts beat with worry. He was a member of the Kelthran species, one of the founding races of the Galactic Council. His people had helped create the peace that had lasted for thousands of years. Now he watched that peace crumbling. 3 months had passed since the Tavian rescue. In those 3 months, everything had changed. The report on his desk listed 17 species that had secretly contacted Earth seeking help with problems the Council could not or would not address. Pirates raiding trade routes, border disputes the Council refused to arbitrate, resource conflicts that dragged on for years while diplomats talked in circles. Humanity had responded to 4 of those requests so far. Each time, the results were swift and efficient. Pirates destroyed or scattered. Disputes resolved through a combination of human diplomacy and the implicit threat of human military power. Problems that had festered for decades solved in weeks. The Council had held meeting after meeting about the human problem. Some delegates demanded war. Others suggested negotiation. Most simply argued in circles, unable to agree on anything. Meanwhile, humanity acted. "Enter," Ven called when he heard a knock at his door. Admiral Doyen stepped in, still wearing his military uniform. He looked tired. The Admiral had spent the last 3 months trying to assemble a fleet large enough to intimidate Earth into compliance. It was not going well. "The situation report you requested," Doyen said, placing a data crystal on the desk. Ven inserted it into his reader and watched the display unfold. Ship counts, fleet positions, readiness assessments. The numbers were impressive. 2,000 warships from 24 different species, all gathered in Council space. The largest fleet assembled in 5 centuries. "And your assessment?" Ven asked. Doyen was quiet for a moment. "Honestly, I do not know if this is enough." Ven's eyebrows rose. 2,000 ships is not enough? "Numbers are not everything," Doyen said carefully. "The humans demonstrated abilities at Tavea Prime that we do not fully understand. Their tactics are completely foreign to us. Their technology has advanced in directions we did not predict." He paused. "And they have something we do not have." "What is that?" "Unity of purpose. My fleet has 24 different species, each with their own command structure, their own tactics, their own rules of engagement. The humans, they act as one. Every ship makes its own decisions, but somehow they are all working toward the same goal. It is terrifying to face." Ven understood what the Admiral was not saying directly. The Council fleet was powerful but clumsy. The human fleet was smaller but moved like a single predator. Which would win in actual combat? Nobody knew for certain. "The Council has ordered you to take your fleet to Sol system and demand Earth surrender," Ven said. It was not a question. "Yes, we jump in 3 days." Doyen met the Councilor's eyes. "I wish I believed this was the right decision." After the Admiral left, Ven sat alone with his thoughts. He had voted against humanity's banishment 3 years ago. He had argued that fear was not a good reason to exclude a species. Nobody had listened then. Would they listen now? He activated his private communication system and sent a message through channels he was not supposed to know existed. A message to someone he had never met in person but trusted anyway. The man, called Suho, leader of the human intelligence network operating in secret throughout the galaxy. Halfway across known space in a crowded station orbiting a gas giant, Suho received the message while sitting in a small cafe. To everyone around him, he looked like a traitor from one of the minor species. His face had been carefully altered with cosmetic surgery. His DNA markers had been modified with illegal genetic treatments. Nobody would recognize him as human. He read Ven's message once, memorized it, and deleted it. Then he stood and walked calmly to a private communication booth. "Director Hana," he said when the encrypted channel opened, "we have a problem. The Council is sending a fleet to Earth. 2,000 ships. They plan to demand surrender or destroy Sol system." On Earth, in her underground office, Director Hana absorbed this information without visible reaction. "Time frame? 3 days to launch. 2 weeks travel time. So we have 17 days total. And Counselor Ven's recommendation? He thinks war can still be avoided. He is willing to help if we give him something to work with." Hana ended the call and immediately contacted Admiral Soman. Within the hour, Earth's entire leadership was gathered in the war room. Chancellor Deho looked older than ever, the weight of these decisions aging him rapidly. 17 days, he said quietly. "Not much time. We can be ready, Sumin said. We have been preparing for this since the banishment. Our fleet is ready. Our defenses are ready. If they want a war, we can give them one. Can we win? Someone asked. Somin did not answer immediately. Honestly, maybe. Our technology is superior. Our tactics are proven. But 2,000 ships is a lot. We would take casualties, possibly heavy ones. And even if we win, what then? We would have killed thousands from dozens of species, made enemies of the entire galaxy. So we surrender? Another voice asked angrily. No, Deho said firmly. We do not surrender, but we also do not have to fight. There is another option. He gestured to Engineer Jinwoo, who stepped forward with his usual messy hair and excited expression. We have been working on something, Jinwoo said. A project we kept secret even from most of our own people. A defensive system that will make Sol System essentially unreachable by anyone we do not allow in. He activated a hologram showing the entire solar system. We call it the Veil. It is a network of phase generators positioned throughout Sol System. When activated, the entire system shifts slightly out of normal space, not enough to damage anything, but enough that incoming ships cannot lock onto our coordinates. They could look right at Sul and not see it. But we can still leave? Minji asked. Yes. Our ships use different principles for navigation. We can come and go freely. To everyone else, Sol System simply vanishes. The room was silent as people absorbed this. A defense that did not require fighting. A way to make Earth truly unreachable without firing a shot. How long to deploy? Deho asked. The generators are already in position. We have been placing them for 6 months. We just need to activate them. Jinwoo smiled. We can do it right now if you give the order. Not yet, Deho said. First, we use this as leverage. He turned to Hana. Contact Counselor Ven through Suho. Tell him we have a proposal. We will demonstrate our defensive capability to Admiral Doyen's fleet. No fighting, no casualties, just a demonstration. If after seeing what we can do the Council still wants war, we will defend ourselves. But we are offering them a chance to avoid bloodshed. Hana nodded and left to send the message. 3 days later, Admiral Doyen's massive fleet assembled on the edge of Council space. 2,000 warships from 24 species formed up in traditional battle formations. It was an impressive sight, enough firepower to sterilize entire planets. Doyen stood on the bridge of his flagship, reviewing the final attack plans. His orders were clear: jump to Sol System, demand surrender. If refused, attack until human resistance was crushed. He hated these orders. But he was a soldier. Soldiers followed orders. Admiral, we are receiving a message, his communications officer said. It is from Earth. Play it. Chancellor Deho's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, almost friendly. Admiral Doyen, we know you are preparing to attack our home. We understand you are following orders. But before you do, we would like to make you an offer. Lower your fleet's shields and weapons as a sign of peaceful intention. Jump to Sol System not as invaders, but as guests. We will demonstrate something that might change the Council's perspective on this situation. The message ended. Doyen stared at the blank screen. It was crazy. Lower shields and weapons while jumping into enemy territory. That went against every military principle he knew, but something in Deho's voice made him hesitate. There was no fear there, no desperation, just quiet confidence. Admiral? His second-in-command asked. Orders? Doyen made a decision that might end his career. Signal all ships, lower shields and power down weapons. We are accepting Earth's invitation. Sir? You heard me. If the humans wanted to destroy us, they had 3 months to prepare ambushes. Instead, they are inviting us to talk. Let us see what they want to show us. 2 weeks later, the Council fleet emerged from FTL at the edge of the Sol System. Doyen had expected to see a heavily armed fortress bristling with weapons and defensive platforms. Instead, he saw something much stranger. Human ships were waiting for them. Yes, but not in battle formation. They were arranged in a peaceful, escort pattern, clearly meant to guide rather than threaten. "Welcome to Sol System," a voice said over the communication channels. It was Admiral Soman. "Please follow our ships to the designated observation position." Doyen's fleet followed the human escorts deeper into the system. They passed Mars, covered in cities and industry. They passed Earth, beautiful and blue and more heavily populated than any world Doyen had ever seen. They passed massive orbital platforms that could only be shipyards. Everywhere Doyen looked, he saw evidence of incredible productivity. When the Council banished Earth, humanity took control of its fate. Part 5. The Council chamber had never been so divided. Admiral Doyen's report had sent shockwaves through the entire governing body. Some delegates called him a coward for not attacking. Others praised his wisdom in avoiding a bloodbath. Most simply argued loudly with anyone who would listen. Councillor Venn watched the chaos with sad eyes. The Council had stood for thousands of years as a symbol of unity and peace. Now it was tearing itself apart over what to do about one small species that refused to obey. "Order!" the chief councillor shouted, his voice amplified to painful levels. "We must make a decision." A delegate from the Corthian collective stood, his tentacles waving aggressively. "The decision is simple. We send a larger fleet. We crush the humans before they become more powerful." "With what ships?" another delegate shouted back. "Admiral Doyen took our largest fleet and it meant nothing. The humans let him look at Earth and then sent him home like a scolded child. We cannot defeat them militarily. Then we blockade them, cut off all trade, let them rot in isolation." Councillor Venn finally stood. His species commanded respect due to their age and founding status. The chamber quieted slightly. "We have already tried isolation," Venn said calmly. 3 years ago we banished humanity, thinking we could remove the problem. Instead, we gave them time to grow stronger. Now you propose more of the same? How is that wise? "What would you have us do?" the chief councillor asked. "Accept their defiance? Let them make a mockery of our authority?" "I would have us admit we made a mistake," Venn said, and the chamber erupted in shocked gasps. "We banished humanity out of fear. Fear that they were too aggressive, too unpredictable. But what have they actually done? They saved the Tavians from extinction while we debated. They stopped pirates we had ignored. They solved disputes we could not. At every turn they have acted with honor while we have acted with paranoia. They refuse to follow our laws," someone shouted. "Perhaps our laws need changing," Venn replied. "The galaxy is not the same as it was when this council was founded. New species emerge, new technologies develop, new ideas challenge old ways. We can either adapt or become irrelevant. The humans are showing us that there are other ways to organize galactic civilization. Maybe we should learn from them instead of trying to destroy them." The debate raged for hours. Finally, a vote was called. Not a vote to attack humanity, but a vote on whether to continue the banishment or explore other options. The chamber fell silent as lights began to glow above seats. This time, the division was almost even. 26 votes to maintain the banishment, 21 votes to explore alternatives. But the margin was shrinking. 3 years ago, 39 species had voted to banish humanity. Now only 26 wanted to keep them isolated. Change was happening, whether the Council's hardliners liked it or not. On Earth, Chancellor Deho received the news with a thoughtful expression. The vote had not gone in humanity's favor, but it was closer than before. Progress, even if slow. "So what now?" Admiral Soman asked. They were meeting in Deho's office with Minji, Hyunwoo, and several other key leaders. "Now we continue what we have been doing," Deho said. "We offer cooperation to species that want it. We help those who need help. We build relationships one species at a time. Eventually the Council will either adapt or collapse. Either way, humanity will have options." "Some species are requesting formal alliances," Minji reported. "Not just defense pacts, full partnerships, trade agreements, technology sharing, cultural exchanges. They want to build something separate from the Council." "How many?" Deho asked. 12 so far, including the Tivians, obviously. But others are watching carefully. If we handle this right, that number could grow quickly. Hyunwoo spoke up from where he sat near the window. I have been talking with some of the younger officers in Doyen's fleet. Many of them were impressed by what they saw here. Some are asking questions about whether the Council way is the only way. We planted seeds, Chancellor. Now we need to help them grow. Daeho nodded slowly. Then let us start building. Not an empire, not a replacement council. Something new. A federation of species that choose to work together because they want to, not because someone forces them to. Over the next year, humanity reached out carefully to the species that had shown interest. Diplomatic teams visited their worlds. Trade ships established routes. Scientists shared discoveries. Cultural exchanges brought alien students to Earth and human students to strange new worlds. Lieutenant Nari, now promoted to captain, led one of the first joint exploration missions. Her crew was half human, half Tavian. Working together, they discovered 2 new habitable worlds and made first contact with a previously unknown species that had been hiding from the Council for centuries. Why were you hiding? Nari asked the leader of this new species through her translator. The Council has rules, the alien replied. Rules about how fast a species can develop. Rules about what technology is allowed. Rules about everything. We wanted to develop our own way, at our own pace. So we hid. You do not have to hide anymore, Nari told them. There are other options now. Engineer Jinwoo's research teams made breakthrough after breakthrough without Council restrictions limiting them. They developed faster ships, better weapons, more efficient power systems. And they shared these discoveries, freely with allied species, something the Council rarely did. Council technology was carefully controlled and licensed. Human technology was open and collaborative. The economic impact was enormous. Human goods flooded into black markets throughout Council space, brought by smugglers like Captain Jiwon, who had built a thriving business moving products between human and Council territories. The goods were better and cheaper because humans were not bound by Council manufacturing regulations. This is going to cause problems, Jiwon told Daeho during one of her rare visits to Earth. The Council's economy runs on controlled scarcity. If we keep flooding the market with superior products at lower prices, we will destabilize their whole system. Good, Daeho said simply. Economic pressure is better than military pressure. Let the average citizens of Council space see that there are alternatives. Let them question why the Council keeps them locked into expensive, inferior products. 2 years after Admiral Doyen's fleet had visited Sol system, the Council faced a crisis it had not anticipated. 7 species announced they were withdrawing from Council membership to join the Human Alliance, as it was now being called. Not a rebellion, not a war. Just a choice to leave and try something different. The Council tried to punish them with sanctions and trade restrictions. It did not work. The Human Alliance had its own trade network now, its own technology, its own military capability. The species that left the Council did not suffer. If anything, they thrived. Other species began to consider following their example. Counselor Ven visited Earth for the first time, traveling in secret to meet with Daeho. They met in a garden, on the surface surrounded by flowers and the sound of birds. You are destroying the Council, Ven said without anger, whether you intend to or not. The Council is destroying itself, Daeho replied. We are just offering an alternative. Species are free to choose. And if the Council collapses entirely, what then? Chaos, war, or freedom, Daeho said. The Council brought peace, yes, but it also brought stagnation. For thousands of years, galactic civilization barely advanced. Everyone followed the same rules, thought the same thoughts, feared anything different. That is not peace, Counselor. That is a prison that looks nice. Ven was quiet for a long moment, watching Earth's sun set over the horizon. My people helped found the Council. We believed in it. We still do in many ways. Then help us fix it, Daeho said. Not destroy it, but transform it. Make it something that encourages diversity instead of enforcing uniformity. Make it a place where species come together by choice, not because they fear being alone. Make it relevant again. How? Ven asked. Start by admitting mistakes. The council was wrong to banish humanity. Say that publicly. Apologize. Then propose reforms. Open up technology sharing. Reduce regulations. Give species more autonomy. The council can still exist as a forum for cooperation. It just cannot exist as a controlling authority anymore. Those days are over, whether the council accepts it or not. 3 months later, Councillor Venn stood before the council and did something no founding species member had done in recorded history. He admitted the council had made a mistake. "We were wrong to banish humanity," he said, his voice clear and firm despite knowing the consequences. "We acted out of fear instead of wisdom. We punished them for being different instead of celebrating what they could teach us. And in doing so, we have weakened ourselves while making them stronger. I propose we formally rescind the banishment and invite Earth to rejoin the council." The chamber erupted. Some delegates cheered, others shouted in anger. The chief counselor called for order repeatedly. On Earth, Deho watched the broadcast with Minji and Soman beside him. When Ven's proposal came, Minji looked at Deho questioningly. "Do we accept?" she asked. "No," Deho said. "We thank them for the offer. We acknowledge their change of heart. But we do not rejoin, not as it is now. We propose something different."